real quickly, there was a friend of mine who was starting a new business, and it was a very large business. He had millions of dollars. He was starting something. And so he got all these executives and all these different people together for the first day of work, and they're in the boardroom. He introduces everybody, and I'm giving you the Reader's Digest version of this story because I want to get through it real quickly. But anyways, on the very first day of work, he says, okay, everybody, what we're going to do is we're going to put together a 2,000-piece jigsaw puzzle. And they're like, oh, good, a group activity. La, la. He says, but before we do that, what I want you to do is I want each one of you, one by one, to come into my office, and I'll show you the box cover. So one by one they file in, and unbeknownst to them, to each one he showed a different box cover. So they finally all see their different box covers, and they get into the room, and they get started, and they all decide, okay, well, we'll get the edges together, and that's something they all can agree on, the flat edges and what have you. And then somebody says, hey, give me all the green ones. I'll put those together for the middle. And someone says, there wasn't green in the middle. There was a lake in the middle. And there was a lake in the middle. The water was down on the side. It was brown. And before you know it, all the communication breaks down. Everybody thinks that the other one's crazy. And so he lets us go on and on and on, and clearly they're not making any progress, and everything's like out of control and what have you. And eventually he says, okay guys, I played a trick on you. I messed with you. I showed you each a different box cover. So now what I want you to do is all you come into my office, and I'm going to show you the actual box cover. No tricks, I promise. No tricks, nothing. But really study that box cover. Really study every nuance of it. See the whole box cover. So they did. They studied it and what have you. They went back out into the office, or into the boardroom, and within just a couple hours, they finished a 2,000-piece jigsaw puzzle. And the purpose of that exercise was to have them experience that when everybody sees the same big picture, then they all can work together in harmony, and that if a piece comes to them that isn't part of what it is they're doing, they know where it goes, so that everyone can work together and build the big picture. Now, I was going to talk almost a half an hour on just that one piece of information, specifically because how many box covers are fed to us?
How many shows are there on television?
Well, how many ways of thoughts are there? Christianity, Islam, Catholicism, Hinduism, Buddhism, all of the isms. Every single one is a different box cover.
Even men can be trans.
And the thing that I talk about is that it's kind of like every human being, the way I try to explain it, is that every human being is like a piano. And you got all these strings. Okay, and all the strings are tuned in there, and as you're growing up, you're kind of playing with your piano, and you play a note, and someone says, no, don't play that note, that's a bad note. And you keep going and playing someone, oh, don't play that note. And so then you begin to learn these scales, where the notes you can play and the notes you can't play. And so you have your Christian scales, you have your Republican scales, you have your libertarian scales, you have your Islam scales, you have your atheist scales, you have your Gestalt scales. When in fact all the notes are okay. But as you bonded in this reality, you were told that certain notes were not okay. And this is where we create the charge. This is where we create the separation. Because in truth, there is no separation. There's only one being. Right now, there's a lot of different facets of that same being in here, looking at itself, thinking I'm talking. But in reality, it is only through the perceptions of our mind that we go into the PDR, the psychologically driven reality, whereby then we separate that which is inseparable, divide that which is indivisible. Dualizing the unity that really exists. So if there's any one big picture to look for, it's who you are. Because when you truly understand who you are, you then understand who we are. It's a very critical part of that mind control. Until you understand that you are not your thoughts, you are not your mind, you are out of control.
So what tools do you offer to work through all the, the trauma and fear and the expectation and judgment and everything?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up. Because I happen to write a book about it. Commercial.
Be right back there. Everybody on that back table.